Welcome to English Story Hub, where extraordinary tales come alive through the power of storytelling. I'm Thomas, your host and guide on this literary journey. Each episode we'll explore captivating stories that transport you to new worlds, introduce you to unforgettable characters, and ignite your imagination. From classic literature to contemporary fiction, from heartwarming tales to thrilling adventures, we celebrate the art of storytelling in all its forms. Whether you're here to improve your English, discover new authors, or simply lose yourself in a good story, you've found your perfect destination. So settle in, let your imagination soar, and join me as we unlock the magic within every story. This is English Story Hub, and your next great adventure begins now.
George Washington, a detailed, complete life story. George Washington's story begins on February 22, 1732, in a modest plantation home in Westmoreland County, Virginia. Although later generations would call him the father of his country, his beginnings were far simpler. He was born into a plantation family not extremely rich, but comfortable enough to provide a stable childhood. Washington's father, Augustine Washington, was a hard-working man who managed several farms and also worked as a justice of the peace. His mother, Mary Ball Washington, was known for her strict discipline, strength, and deep moral values. She played a major role in shaping George's character. Mary was not an easy mother. She had high expectations, demanded hard work, and taught her children to value honesty and responsibility above everything. George grew up with several siblings and step-siblings from his father's first marriage. The household was busy, full of work, and surrounded by fields, animals, and forest land. From a young age, George was drawn to outdoor activities. He loved horseback riding, fishing, swimming, and exploring the woods. These early experiences taught him self-reliance and gave him a natural confidence in physical challenges. He attended local schools where he learned reading, writing, basic mathematics, and rules of civility. There is no evidence that young George ever chopped down a cherry tree. That story was invented much later, but there is plenty of evidence that he was naturally honest, disciplined, and serious-minded even as a boy. Tragedy struck his childhood when he was 11. His father died suddenly, and the family's future became uncertain. Because of this, George could not continue higher education in England, which was common among wealthy Virginia families. Instead, he finished only basic schooling, but he never allowed this to hold him back. He taught himself advanced mathematics, geography, and the art of surveying by reading books for hours. By the age of 16, George had become a trained land surveyor, a respected and demanding job. Surveying required walking long distances through forests, mountains, and rivers, often in extreme weather. He had to measure land accurately, negotiate with settlers, and write detailed reports. This work hardened his body, strengthened his will, and opened his eyes to the vastness of the American frontier. Washington was tall, strong, and physically imposing, standing over 6 feet, very rare for his time. People admired his presence, calm nature, and ability to remain steady under pressure. He developed the natural leadership qualities that would later define his life. The beginning of a soldier. Tensions between the British and French empires were rising. Both wanted control over the lands west of the Appalachian Mountains. Native American tribes also played key roles in the struggle. In this dangerous environment, the Virginia government needed skilled young men willing to serve. Washington joined the Virginia militia and quickly rose to the rank of major. At age 21, he was sent on a dangerous mission to deliver a message to French forces in the Ohio Valley. This mission tested his courage. He traveled hundreds of miles through icy forests, crossed freezing rivers, and dealt with dangerous encounters. He completed the mission successfully and wrote a detailed journal about his experience. This journal was published and made him famous in both America and Britain. His next assignment took him into battle. In 1754, Washington's small force clashed with French troops in the woods. This skirmish played a role in starting the French and Indian War, part of the larger 7 Years' War that spread across the world. Washington faced defeat, harsh criticism, and even surrendered once during this war, but he also earned admiration for his bravery. In 1755, he served as an aide to British General Edward Braddock. During a major battle, Braddock was shot and killed. Washington, though in the center of the fighting, survived miraculously. 2 horses were shot from beneath him, and bullets passed through his coat. Many believed he had been spared for a purpose. These experiences transformed him. He left the war as a seasoned commander who understood the realities of combat fear, chaos, hunger, and death. He also learned discipline, studied military strategy, and learned to lead men from different backgrounds, home, marriage, and planting a new life. After the war, Washington returned home to Virginia. His reputation was strong, his manners were refined, and his leadership was recognized. In 1759, he married Martha Dandridge Custis, a wealthy widow with 2 children, John and Martha, whom George lovingly raised as his own. Their marriage brought emotional stability, companionship, and financial security. Washington became the owner of Mount Vernon, a large plantation beside the Potomac River. He expanded it into one of the most successful farms in Virginia, experimenting with crops like wheat, corn, and barley. He built mills, managed enslaved laborers, and improved the land constantly. He may have lived the life of a farmer, but he was ambitious, always trying to modernize, expand, and innovate. At the same time, he entered public life. He became a member of the Virginia House of Burgesses, where he was known for being quiet but steady, always speaking with reason and purpose. He supported projects like road building, trade expansion, and fair laws. But while George enjoyed peace at Mount Vernon, British colonial policies were becoming unbearable. Taxes like the Stamp Act and the Tea Act angered the colonists. Washington, although loyal to Britain at first, gradually realized that the colonies needed freedom and the right to govern themselves. The Revolution begins. By the early 1770s, tension between Britain and America reached its breaking point. When the First Continental Congress met in 1774, Washington attended as a representative of Virginia. He appeared in full military uniform, a signal that he was ready for conflict if needed. When fighting erupted at Lexington and Concord in April 1775, the colonies needed a commander to unite them. On June 15, 1775, the Continental Congress unanimously chose George Washington as the commander-in-chief of the Continental Army. Washington accepted with humility, saying he did not feel worthy of the task but would dedicate his every power to the cause of independence. The long struggle of the American Revolution. The war lasted 8 years and tested Washington beyond imagination. His army lacked food, clothing, weapons, and training. Many soldiers deserted, others died from cold and disease. Washington had to fight not only the British but also internal conflict, political disagreements, and constant shortages. Despite this, Washington never lost faith. Boston, he organized the chaotic militia into a functioning army and forced the British to evacuate Boston through smart positioning and deception. New York disaster. The British attacked New York with overwhelming force. Washington's army suffered heavy defeats, but he skillfully retreated and saved the army from destruction. Crossing the Delaware. In one of the most daring acts in American history, Washington crossed the icy Delaware River on Christmas night of 1776, surprising enemy troops at Trenton. This victory restored American morale. Valley Forge. The winter of 1777 to 78 was horrifying. Soldiers lacked shoes and many starved. But Washington stayed with them, encouraged them, and turned them into a stronger, more professional army with the help of trainer Baron von Steuben. Yorktown, the final victory. With French naval and military support, Washington trapped British General Cornwallis at Yorktown in 1781. The British surrendered, and the war effectively ended. America had won its independence. Washington became a hero not just in America, but around the world. He had led a weak, divided group of colonies to defeat the most powerful empire on earth. Returning home and being called again, Washington resigned from the army in 1783, shocking the world. He willingly gave up power and returned to Mount Vernon. This action alone showed his character. He wanted no rewards, no titles, no throne, only peace, but America was struggling. The new government was weak. States fought among themselves, and there was no strong national leadership. In 1787, leaders called a convention to write a new constitution, and Washington was chosen to preside over it. Once the Constitution was created, the entire nation agreed on one thing. George Washington must be the first president. He did not want the job, but he accepted because he knew the country needed him. The first president of the United States in 1789, Washington was unanimously elected as the first president. Every elector voted for him, an honor repeated by no one else in history. As president, Washington shaped every part of the government. He formed the first cabinet, choosing wise and capable men. He established the Supreme Court system. He supported Alexander Hamilton's financial plan, which stabilized the economy. He declared the first Thanksgiving as a national day of gratitude. He kept America neutral in European wars, protecting the young nation. He signed the Bill of Rights, ensuring freedoms for all citizens. Washington also set important traditions. He served only 2 terms and then stepped down, proving that a leader should not cling to power. In his famous farewell address, he warned Americans to avoid political divisions and foreign entanglements. Advice still discussed today. A final years and passing. After retiring in 1797, Washington finally returned home to Mount Vernon. Hoping for peace, he spent his final years managing his estate, riding through his fields, meeting visitors, and spending time with Martha. On December 12, 1799, he rode his horse through snow and cold. 2 days later, he developed a severe throat infection. Despite the best medical care of the time, his condition worsened rapidly. On the evening of December 14th, surrounded by family and close friends, George Washington passed away calmly. His final words reflected his lifelong dignity. "It is well." The entire nation mourned. Leaders across the world paid tribute. America had lost not just its first president, but the man who shaped its very identity, a legacy that lives on. George Washington stands as one of history's greatest leaders. He united a divided nation, defeated the world's strongest empire, refused to become a dictator, and built a foundation for democratic government, a legacy that lives on. George Washington stands as one of history's greatest leaders. He united a divided nation, defeated the world's strongest empire, refused to become a dictator, and built a foundation for democratic government. His honesty, strength, humility, and sense of duty continue to inspire millions. His name is given to the nation's capital, countless institutions, monuments, schools, and streets. His face appears on the dollar bill and the quarter. But Washington's true legacy is the example he set. Leadership without greed, power without corruption, courage without cruelty, and service above self. George Washington did not just lead a revolution. He helped build a nation. Thank you for watching this story of George Washington. If you enjoyed this video and want more inspiring historical stories, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, English Story Hub, for more amazing videos from history.